Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Open Trailer Podcast, Ep.2. Today's title, Cut Out the Defense, Run Your Own Race. Again, we'd like to give thanks to all of our 2023 sponsors, GBI, L&W Supply, Automotive Head Exchange, HRO, and Coach's Chassis. Today, from the crew and the team at Rift and GFR, we'd also like to give special thanks to Mosier Enterprises, Car Crafters, ESPN 101.7 The Team, Creighton Insider, Hendren Racing Engines, and David Vizard for the inspiration of the podcast. In today's topics of discussion, I want to bring up a few things pertaining to cutting out our defense and running our own race. Valuable mental skills and visualization tools that will help you run cleaner, faster, safer races, make more friends with your competitors, and gather more information with your car. The three main components we want to be touching on today are, one, scripting, a visualization tool I've used to break down the steps on what it takes to have a successful race day in my head, which is going to transfer directly to the race car. It's my brain using my hands to move the steering wheel as it is yours. Number two is going to be the principle of our maximum attack. So this is going to be where we are cutting out all of our defense during the race. We are no longer running defensive lines, running a defensive race. We will be in maximum attack. And I will bring up a few points on what that means and how to achieve that. And topic number three of today's discussion will be advantages of the racing line. Seems pretty simple. Everybody would think, well, of course, you're going to go faster on the racing line, but there's plenty of other considerations to have in mind when you're in the racing line, when you're racing at full speed, and while you are trying not to defend. Defense is slow. It will send you to the rear of the race. So to start the discussion, let's get into scripting. And what this means to us. The first component of the racing script, in my mind, when I sit in the belts and I'm in staging, I want to, number one, relax. Want to be as calm as possible while in the race car. Your body has natural responses to stimuli that alter the chemical composition of your brain and therefore changing your conscious state. You need to relax. You're about to do something crazy. We've all felt it in the race car, and those butterflies, those pukes, the poops, whatever it is, you can channel that, and you can move that away. You can relearn that. You can use descriptors and use coping mechanisms to try and relax in the seat. You want your body to go through a chemical delta, but controlled. So relax. My greatest tip is fall asleep in the car and staging. If you can lower your heart rate to almost a trance-like state, if you're praying anyway, if you're a religious person, man or woman, I completely feel that sitting in staging. It's a great way to meditate. It's a great way to relax. Number two of our scripting, and this is for a start of the race, is we want to simply survive. We want to survive. We want to make it through the race. We want to make it through the start. We want to make it to the green flag. We want to make it through our first couple laps. But most importantly, we want to survive the start of the race. There's no room to defend on the start of the race, as there is no room to defend anywhere in racing for average positional conflict. There is no room to defend. We are not on a level to defend. No one in modified or even dirt track racing competition as a whole truly has a right to defend for position. You must run your own race, and survival is the first step on the racetrack. Make it through the first couple laps. That's going to bring us in to number 3. Tip number 3 in our scripting is to settle. And I don't mean settle for more or less position. I don't mean be okay with a bad car. I don't mean to say that, you should sit back in third place and just relax and survive for the rest of the race. No, we're going to settle and feel out the car. This happens immediately if you're on pole, get through the first lap, settle in, find where your car's at. If you're back in the field, you might have to survive. Use step 2 and step 1 to your advantage. Relax and survive until you can settle later in the race. If that's 4 laps, if that's 5 laps, you haven't lost a lot of time. Average lap time on a dirt track is somewhere between 15 and 17 seconds. You have tons of time in a 25-lap main event to go back and make your most ground on track position. So step 3, settle. Settle down on the track. Settle in. Settle around your car. Let your car settle to you. Let the tires come up to temperature now. You're still only 2 or 3 laps in. You survived the start of the race. But settle. Feel what's going on. And use your first 2 steps in your scripting to make this happen. Relax, survive, and then settle. Step 4 in our scripting on the racetrack is going to be most everybody's favorite, but possibly not the favorite if you know what you're going through, is the attack. So a few laps into the race, and we can use a good visualization tool here. We can tell a little bit of a story. You started the race in 7th position. You relaxed enough at the start to even have a chance to survive. Into turn 1, the top 4 positions in front of you push high into the corner and cause a caution. You come to the second restart of the race in 3rd position. You relax again. You survive the start, and now you settle into 3rd, and it's lap 5. You're within a half-second gap of the leaders, and now you know what you can do. You feel like you have a very good car. What's going through your head? Attack. You almost feel your eyes rolling back in your head. You're like a shark. You know you have the positions ahead of you. You can't hear anybody behind you swinging into the corner. You don't see them. So you plan to attack. Well, what do you do? Do you just drive the car harder? Do you ignore your marks? Do you misguide the vehicle into lines on the racetrack that seem faster? Do you pinch to try and reduce track distance? These are common mistakes that are made, and we will teach how to attack today. An attack is not driving the car harder for position. It is driving the car harder to achieve maximum forward acceleration and momentum. That is an attack. We are not going for the car ahead of us. We are going for the car ahead of him. We are not driving to the corner. We are driving through the corner. And that's going to help us out big time later in the race as the car is manipulated by those actions to handle better. The tires are of even temperature. The suspension is warmed up properly. Shock oils have come to temperature. The engine is happy. Everything is being treated right during this attack. So remember, step 4, attack. Use your first 3 steps in the script to get to this position after you've relaxed, after you've survived, after you've settled. Then you can attack, and you will see results. And again, this attack is simply not driving the car harder. This is the beginning of your flow state, the motion in which the car will become its fastest. That brings us to step 5, the motion in which the car is its fastest. It's flying motion. If you've watched some European motorsports or FIA and Formula 1, you've heard guys be on flyers or even in qualifying and sprint car racing or late model. Man, I was on a flyer. That was a flying lap, just at an absolute clip. This is the end result of our scripting, is a flying motion. We want the car to be as wide and as loose and as fast and carrying as much speed and momentum around the track as possible, no matter what's behind or in front of us. Remember, we are cutting out our defense, running our own race. We only attack and we only go forward. We do not worry about the cars behind us. This is the final step on track for your script. After you've attacked, after you've made your most ground, if you find yourself in front or at a small gap from the competitors in front of you or a large gap from the competitors in front of you, I ensure you, whether you win the race or not, if you can achieve a flow state and get your vehicle into a flying motion around the racetrack, you will come out of the car with more information on what to do with handling of the vehicle, what adjustments to make, a larger smile on your face, and a feeling like you have never felt coming out of the race car before. You want to talk chemical delta and why you have to relax is when you're scared of your car, it's so fast, or you feel like you need a smaller seat. That's the result of number 5. That's the result of achieving a flying motion, is I need a smaller seat. I'm scared of this car. That was fast. What was our lap times? Where were we at compared to the class above us? If your driver's asking you these questions or saying these statements to you, i.e., I need a smaller seat, I believe they've achieved flying motion. They've achieved a very good race car and a good balance between their direction to it. They are using the entire track. They're using the entire car. They're using all the available mechanical grip, and the car is thanking them for it, and it will reward them in number 6. And that is our finish. Our finish. So we are done. We are going to go home. We're going to reflect. We're going to describe the motion of the car, feel out things through conversation with our crew. But we have finished, and we will finish fast, and we will finish with grace in that flying motion. Take another lap. Take 2 back to the checkered flag if you want. Get more info out of your car. Finish correctly. Don't freak out. Keep calm. Relax. If this was the heat race you're finishing, you still have to go through these 6 steps again, maybe multiple times tonight. If you didn't have a good finish, you might go through these same steps a dozen times tonight battling through B mains. So remember, you have to finish strong, finish good, finish for information, finish to keep the car in one piece, finish to roll it back up on the trailer at night, and the 5 steps before it will help you do that. All right, coming into our second topic of conversation, let's get these guys out of the way. We're going to be discussing the maximum attack. Oh. Maximum attack. So this will build upon our scripting lesson just before, but this is strictly what I want to describe in as how to achieve the most of your attack and how to achieve the most of your flying motion. And I want to give descriptors and visual tools to show exactly what this means. Number 1 is going to be the simple, most important thing we're going to do to cut out our defense and run our own race is to follow our marks. Sorry, I got some sticky keys here. Follow your marks. You set them. If you don't have them, get some. You need to be on your marks. If your marks are incorrect, ask a competitor. If they have an issue, they will bring it up to you. I've done it before. You can see when somebody's turning in, it's impossible to run a race with some cars when they are completely off the racing line and are driving obscenely defensively. So please follow your marks. They're there for you to use in the car, every corner, at all times. And we will go into further discussion in later podcasts on head position and other techniques inside the car to help you do these kinds of things. Number 2. Is to drive through the corner, not into it. So many times, and we're going to use our second visual aid here to assist us, we're going to take a little NASCAR style telepositioning over to the famed and lost to time Manzanita Speedway. And we're going to show what we mean by drive through the corner, not into it. So if we pay attention down to turn 1 and 2, we will have a yellow line, a small yellow line, and we're going to trace out of turn 3, someone just following what was left as the last groove at Manzanita, and they're going to ride up to the wall. They're having a really, really good time up there. I couldn't imagine going around this place at 160 miles an hour. And then they're going to make a mistake, and they're going to see the corner, and they're going to drive into it. They're going to just drive the car right off into the corner, and they're going to run over all of this stuff, and then they're going to push because the car is really, 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 really fast. And then they're going to stop, and they're going to think about what they're going to do, and we're going to leave that mark right there. We're going to leave him right here. So this was a driver that drove into the corner, and he might not make it through just yet. We'll find out. And now, in our red line, we're going to follow right over our yellow line. He's going to come out to the wall, and he's going to have a bunch of fun up here and scare the flag man. But he's not going to drive into the corner. He wants to drive through the corner. The red line driver understands that his goal is to make it right out here somewhere 25 times tonight without stopping. So he's going to come through, and he's not going to pinch his entry. He's not going to pinch the apex of the corner. He's just going to drive on through. And look how smooth that was. You know, he just wisped around the corner. And it was a larger radius, and he might find that he's faster coming up to the wall, or he's faster coming up towards this side of the wall. Or maybe he's good pinching. You know, maybe he's good catfished around the bottom. But he learned there to drive through the corner, not into it. You have an allergic reaction when you see the corner approaching down the straightaway to just drive the car down into the racetrack, but that's not true. You want to carry your flow. You want to carry your momentum, distribute speed all the way around the racetrack. So number 2, drive through the corner, not into it. Number 3, in our maximum attack, is do not compensate. Do not compensate. Now, you know, what is Casey saying? What are we compensating for? We're compensating for the yellow driver's mistake that we just went over here at Manzanita Speedway. We'll go back to yellow to show. So our yellow driver comes out of the corner. He goes to the wall on a straightaway, and then he dives into the corner. He drives into the corner, and he struggles, pushes. He's running up the racetrack. The car's wildly out of control. He gets to a moment here where he's realized that 2 or 3 cars have managed to sneak under the inside line around the apex, and he is upset. Nobody wants to lose. Nobody wants to go backwards. We've made a mistake. We can fix this correct. So the first thing he does is overcompensates, drives right back down to the racetrack. Get our red mark here. The poor son of a gun who was just running his own race is ran right into him. Now both cars are torn up. Both people are upset. Nobody can collect the data they needed. So do not overcompensate. Part of being on the racetrack and at speed in a competitive vehicle is to be in your maximum attack. Follow your marks. Drive through the corner and not into it. And do not overcompensate. That brings us to number 4 of maximum attack. The end result for having a fast car during the race is so that you can come off the track and give this data to your team or to yourself to make further educated decisions on what to do with the chassis. These 3 steps will help you get to this point. You will be able to collect data if you're following your marks. If you're making educated motion with the vehicle, you can make educated adjustment to the chassis. Follow your marks. Number 2, drive through the corner and not into it. Do not compensate and collect this data. Collect this data. If you feel like you have to compensate for the car every corner, then you need to be making adjustments from your marks to make it better, not from where you're compensating. If you're driving a corner into it, if you're driving the car into the corner and not through it, and you're having issues, you need to change that style to drive through the corner to get information for what the car is doing through the race, not at an individual position on the track where you were compensating. So number 4, collect data. One of the end results of our maximum attack, we want to collect our data from the race. We want to survive with it. We want to relax about it, and we want to adjust from it. Number 5 in maximum attack is to achieve our flying motion. This is the final principle of our maximum attack. We want to achieve our flying motion. We want to get the car at its flow state, just as you can relax yourself and meditate in the vehicle and visualize what's happening around you and have the greatest time of your life in the car. It's having fun too. It's a piece of machinery, but it wants to go fast. It has a heart and soul about this. Achieve its flying motion. Give it to the car and it will reward you tenfold. You will begin to win races. You will begin to collect proper data. You will see results of listening to these discussions if you achieve your flying motion. But remember, you have to follow your steps. From our scripting discussion before, you still have to relax, you still have to survive, settle, attack, fly, and then finish. And you have to follow these to get to the maximum of those. You have to follow your marks. You have to drive through the corner and not into it. You need not compensate for the vehicle. You must adjust by collecting data and achieving our flying motion to learn what the car is doing at its optimum conditions, which is where we want to race it all the time. That wraps up topic 2 for the discussion today on cutting out the defense and running your own race. We're going to jump into number 3, the advantages of the racing line. Advantages of the racing line. So you probably say, well, duh, I know what the advantages of the racing line is. That's where, that's where the fastest lap's been run. That's where this, that's where that, that's where to do. Well, of course, this is all true, but are you even running your racing line? Are you running the racing line indicative of your track? Do you know what the racing line is at your track? Do you think it's the black line? Do you think it's the bottom of the black line? Do you think it's the top of the black line? What if I told you that's all wrong? It's not exactly where motion has been carried by the majority of the vehicles on the track, because I promise you, and this isn't coming from a place of expertise or of grandiose that I'm the greatest driver in the world, but the majority of drivers don't know how to drive and don't race on the racing line. So how would the most worn out spot on the track be the line? It's as simple as that. And it's not. We want to go through a few points on these advantages of the racing line and further prove in this discussion that we should be heading towards the same page to promote further competition, better racing, and more progress with our drivers. Young, old, new, amateur, professional can all follow these tips. So, holding your line is misunderstood. You're told as a young driver, hold your line over the radio, the receiver, the team crew, no matter what series it's in. Hold your line, drivers, hold your line. Make sure you're there. Blue flags, hold your line. Well, what does that even mean? What does that even mean? For example, most cars that are catching blue flags during the races or seeing crossed yellows know that they are offline. They're too slow. Their car is ill handling. They're not holding a line at all. So let's not misunderstand this. Let's not drive through 3 and 4 on the bottom. Here, hold your line. Know the leaders are coming. And drive around the bottom of the straightaway into the corner again. No. Hold your racing line. I'm going to change this right now. Holding your line is misunderstood. Period. Hold your racing line. Keep the car where it is fastest. Even if it's not comfortable, that's fine. Do not compensate. You will collect data. This was in our last point for maximum attack. Hold your racing line. Find the racing line. If you get crossed flags and you have leaders come by, you get on their line. Obviously, yours isn't working. You shouldn't adjust your car to a poor line. Adjust your car to the racing line. Hold the racing line. It is imperative to success in your chassis adjustments, in your driving career. You want to win races, you got to be on the line, and you got to be fast on it. So work there. Stay there. Our second point, and this holds true to holding the racing line, is you're faster. Your goal is to carry momentum. Running a racing line in a flying motion, your flow state of the driver, you will carry greater momentum around the racetrack. Overall average speed builds faster races. Cut minutes off of your time racing by carrying momentum. Drive past vehicles like you have 100 more horsepower because you carried momentum. I can see it race after race after race from across the country. There will be a driver who is 4 or 5 miles an hour a lap faster than his competition in the same class, and they lap the field in handfuls of laps. Single-digit lap numbers, and it's because they are carrying such great momentum compared to the competition. All it takes is a mile an hour or two over 25 laps to mean laps. Lapping cars with only 1 or 2 mile an hour difference average per lap. You will lap cars in 25 lap features. Carry momentum. Hold your racing line, and understand that holding your line is misunderstood. So when you go to teach someone new, when you go to teach the youth, when you go to share this with another competitor or a peer, remember that when you talk about holding your line, shush them and say, hold your racing line. Because I don't want to race with you on the track if you're not on the racing line. It is annoying. It is not competitive. It's not fun. It's not good for any of us. We want to race hard and clean. Hold your racing line. Dirt flat track karting is the prime example of this. Watch any money race from around the country. You will see 30 to 40 carts lined up, nose to tail, too wide on the racing line. Not some hokey defensive stuff that they learned on a video game. Not some hokey defensive stuff they learned in lower classes, because they're in the lowest. They race pure race on the racing line. Number 3. We've touched on this in the previous ones, but the car is going to thank you. It's going to reward you. You will, maybe not the first race you try these principles, maybe not the 5th race you try these principles, maybe not the 10th one. It will thank you in those. It might not reward you just yet, but you will, and you will win races with these techniques. You will win races with these principles. Run your own race. Cut out your defense. Throw it in the trash. This isn't sports ball. There's no goal. There's no basket. We have no points for the most part, race to race. Drive your hardest. Drive on the line. Attack correctly. Attack with education, and your car will thank you and reward you. With that, I sign off today with special thanks again to Mosier Enterprises, Car Crafters, ESPN 101.7, the team, Crate Insider, Hendren Racing Engines, and David Vizard for the wonderful inspiration to continue this podcast. And thanks to all of our 2023 sponsors for the USRA, BMOD, Rift, GFR, GBI, L&W Supply, Automotive Head Exchange, HRO, and Coaches Chassis. Thank you all, and until the next one, goodbye.